Hello and welcome. I'm Matthew Mawson and I've been teaching English in Thailand for nearly a decade. In 2011, I started Master's English Laboratory in Bangkok, where I specialize in phonemic awareness and pronunciation training. I hold a master's degree in international education. This webinar is based on a Lingo Live pronunciation mini course that I'm teaching right now. It's a mini group lesson, but Lingo Live also does one-on-one, and it's language communication coaching for employees of tech companies around the world. And this webinar might not be as interactive as my small group lessons, but I'm sure you'll still find the information useful. The topic today is pronunciation. Millions of people around the world are studying English, but they're missing one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. No one is teaching them pronunciation. From the sound of your voice, your listeners make judgments about you, your message, and your attitude towards them. Remember, what you say is only 50% of your message. The other 50% is how you say it. So today's presentation has three objectives. First, we're going to figure out how to make your voice more expressive, more lively, using stress, rhythm, and intonation. Then we'll look at how intonation can give any sentence any one of several meanings. And then we'll look at why it might be difficult for second language learners to understand native speakers, especially when we speak very quickly. So the syllable, it's one of the most fundamental units of speech. Most of you already know what syllables are, but bear with me. Today's presentation is full of useful information, even for the most advanced speakers. But let's count these out first. Ease, one syllable. Easy, two syllables. Easily, three syllables. But what is syllable stress? Well, every word in English has a stressed syllable. We only stress the vowels, never the consonants. The characteristics of a stressed syllable are: 1, a longer vowel. This is the most important aspect of syllable stress. 2, a higher pitch. And 3, an increase in volume. Now let's say some of these words together and use the rubber band hands to show where the syllable stress is. Move your hands out longer for the stressed syllable and short for the unstressed syllable. Deviation, photography, record, record. So how do you know where to put the stress? There are some general rules that show you where to put the syllable stress. First, we have the two-syllable nouns and adjectives. For two-syllable nouns and adjectives, put the stress on the first syllable. Listen to the examples. Table, pilot, engine, happy, useful, scary. Now, where is the stress there? It's on the first syllable. Then we have the two-syllable verbs. First, the ones that begin with a prefix, and now this is most verbs in English. You put the stress on the last syllable. Listen to the examples. Complain, decide, expect. Stress the last syllable. Next, we have the verbs that don't have a Latin prefix. For these, we usually stress the first syllable, actually. So let's listen to the examples. Carry, listen, offer. Stress the first syllable. An interesting note about spelling. So normally when you have a verb that ends in a consonant, vowel, consonant, or CVC, we double the final consonant when you add ing or ed. So like you see prefer, preferring, begin, beginning, you double it. This is not true when the verb has a stress on the first syllable. So if you're like me, you've probably spelled traveling wrong by putting two L's in it at some point. So remember this tip. When the stress is on the first syllable, don't double the final consonant when you add ed or ing. So like look at these words: edit, editing, travel, traveling, cancel, canceling. We don't double those consonants. But then we get into the 3 and more syllable words. These get a little more difficult. I'll show you some rules that will help you determine where to put the stress in these longer words. So for words that end with a suffix, we usually stress right in front of the suffix. There are a long list of these suffixes. Listen to the examples. Notice how the syllable stress falls right in front of the suffix. Financial, residential, information, right in front of the suffix. Here's another list of suffixes where you stress right in front of the suffix. So again, notice how the stress falls right in front of the suffix. Media, ingredient, mysterious. Now we have a few suffixes here where the stress goes 2 syllables in front of the suffix. So these are 8, eyes, airy, and ly. Listen to the examples. Notice how the stress falls 2 syllables in front of the suffix. Activate, apologize, secretary. And there are also a few suffixes where you actually stress the suffix itself. These are aid as in lemonade, e as in agree, ear as in engineer, ease as in Japanese, and et as in cassette, ik as in unique, and un as in balloon. Okay, so we're almost finished with the stress rules. There's only one type of word left. You guys are doing great. The last type of word is compound words. These are words that are made up of 2 or more words. So for the compound nouns, we stress the first syllable. For example, heartbeat, honeymoon, saucepan. For the compound adjectives, the stress goes in the second word, like cross-country, half-inch, self-confident. And then you have the phrasal verbs. For the phrasal verbs, you want to stress the preposition. So like ask out, ask around, blow up. Okay, now let's just review the rules you just learned. Now let's just review the syllable stress rules we've already learned. For the 2-syllable nouns and adjectives, table, happy, pilot, scary. Where's the stress? It's on the first syllable. Okay, now look at the 2-syllable verbs with a Latin prefix. Complain, decide, expect. Where's the stress? It is on the last syllable. Now let's look at the verbs with no prefix, like carry, study, travel. Where's the stress? On the first syllable. Okay, let's look at these long list of suffixes here. Where does the stress go in these words? Financial, residential, information. Stress comes immediately before the suffix. Okay, then you have these few suffixes. Listen to the words activate, apologize, secretary. For these, the stress comes 2 syllables before the suffix. Now let's look at the compound nouns. Heartbeat, honeymoon. Where's the stress? It's on the first syllable. Now look at the compound adjectives. Self-confident, half-inch. For the compound adjectives, you want to stress on the second word. And now finally, the phrasal verbs. Wake up, ask out, blow up. Wake him up, ask her out. Where's the stress? It's on the preposition. Remember, there are always exceptions to these rules, just like any rules in English. But the best way to learn word stress is to work with a coach like myself, or to use a dictionary or a pronunciation guide and just practice speaking English daily. The more experience you have with English, the easier it'll be. So let's look at this sample dialogue and have a listen. Did you apologize to the manager for your objection this afternoon? No, why would I apologize? The manager's decision to specialize in luxurious commodities is ill-conceived. I believe that wholeheartedly. Now, how did that sound to you? A bit monotonous, don't you think? So a monotone, it suggests to your listeners that you have really little invested in them. You don't really care how they respond to you. You don't care if they answer you. Let's have a listen again. This time I've marked the syllable stress, and this kind of activity is useful even for native speakers. I was working with a native speaker the other day and marked the stress, and her voice, her speech became much more lively, much more energetic. Did you apologize to the manager for your objection this afternoon? No. Why would I apologize? The manager's decision to specialize in luxurious commodities is ill-conceived. I believe that wholeheartedly. Well, you're very self-confident to criticize him so publicly. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, or it's just my Japanese culture. But when I disagree with a superior's decision, I keep my conclusions to myself. Well, I agree that sometimes it pays to be soft-spoken. I wouldn't mouth off to the executives, for example. It might jeopardize my employment. Now, didn't that sound a lot better? So when you mark the stress, you exaggerate the stress, your voice becomes more expressive. You can improve your expressive voice by practicing stress, rhythm, and intonation. As we've just learned, stress is a longer, higher pitched, and louder vowel sound. Now, rhythm is the beats and the timing. There are strong and weak beats. The boy is crying in class. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That is the rhythm. The intonation is the up and the down. Take a look at this example. It's a very important day. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's a very important day for us. So first you get the stress, then you get the rhythm, and then you get the intonation. So one way to practice rhythm is by starting a speaking activity, counting off the beats. English is a stress-timed language, so the syllables, the most important ones, make up the strong beats and take the most time. The unstressed syllables fall right in between. So let's count it off. A 1, a 2, a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and 101, and 102, and 103, and 104. Dogs chase cats. The dogs chase cats. The dogs chase the cats. The dogs are chasing the cats. The dogs have been chasing the cats. The dogs are going to be chasing the cats. Can you see how much information you can fit in between the strong beats without making the sentence any longer? Okay, let's look at this example here. Take these two sentences. They both take the same 4 seconds to say, but the top one has many fewer syllables compared to the bottom one. Hipsters drink beer at Brooklyn Brewery daily. If someone had told me it was his birthday, I would have gotten him a bottle of wine. The sentence stresses on the strong beats. The other words just seem to almost disappear. So how do we determine which words to stress in a sentence? We did syllables in words, but how about words in sentences? The answer is simple. The words that are the most important and the newest pieces of information receive the most stress. So when it comes to stress, there are 2 types of words: content words and structure words. Content words convey the meaning. These are stressed. Structure words make up the grammatical structure of the sentence. These are not stressed. There are 2 types of intonation that we use to stress the content words. The first is jump up, jump down. She has a sister. What's for dinner? The second is jump up, glide down. I'm fine. He loves to dance with her. How was your day? Interestingly, when I ask someone, how are you? And they say, fine, it sounds a little dismissive, maybe even impolite or rude. So I think this has to do with the rhythm. When we ask this question, we're expecting more than one beat as a response, like, I'm fine, not bad, pretty good, or something like that. When we hear just one beat, fine, it's a little off-putting and can even sound rude. Okay, so intonation, it can really even change the meaning of the same sentence. So listen to this. I didn't tell her you were stupid. Well, who said I was stupid? I didn't tell her you were stupid. Yes, you did. I didn't tell her you were stupid. Well, what did you do? You text her? I didn't tell her you were stupid. Well, who did you tell? I didn't tell her you were stupid. Well, I mean, you shouldn't be calling anyone stupid in the first place. I didn't tell her you were stupid. Oh, so you think I still am stupid? I didn't tell her you were stupid. So, well, what did you tell her? You told her that I was dumb? Okay, so identical words here, totally different meanings. That is the power of intonation. So, in many cases, intonation is also just as important as your body language. It can be used to convey feelings. Listen to this sentence. I have something to tell you. How did I feel? Well, I'm feeling happy and excited. How about this? I have something to tell you. How am I feeling? Maybe sad or worried. I have something to tell you. How am I feeling? Maybe nervous, a little nervous. And then try this on. I have something to tell you. How am I feeling now? Maybe this is like a cute and intimate thing. I have a cute little secret to tell you or something. That one might be better off having a female do that one for you. So, intonation and meaning. Stressing a different word in a question, it also lets your listener know what information you're looking for. So if we say, is John going to Japan in June? Well, we're not sure who's going. The other person might say, no, Bill is. Is John going to Japan in June? No, he's going to Taiwan. Is John going to Japan in June? No, he's going in July. Now look at the next sentence. Did you really want to go there? Yeah, what's wrong with that place? You don't like it? Did you really want to go there? Oh, well, no, not really, not so much. Now let's look at the intonation patterns in questions. So we have the yes-no questions and the who, what, when, where, why, how questions, the information questions. So listen to my intonation when I say these sentences. Where does it rise? Where does it fall? Are you hungry? Where are you from? What's for dinner? Does Rob drive? How long is the trip? So that's $120. Is there a discount available for students? What's the difference between the way I stress intonation for the yes-no questions and the information questions? Well, you can see the stress rises for the yes-no, and it doesn't fall. For the information questions, the stress builds up, rising through the question, but it falls at the end. So, yeah, are you hungry? Where are you from? It would be kind of weird if you said, what's your name, right? It's got to fall at the end. So now we've covered our first two objectives. You know where to put the stress in different words. You know how to give your voice feeling using rhythm, intonation, make it lively, expressive. Okay, but what if you still have difficulty understanding native speakers, especially when they're talking really fast? So some of my students say they understand me in the classroom, but when I'm talking to my friends in the lobby, they don't understand me so well. Why do so many speakers of English speak in this fast and fluent and sort of flow of words? Well, that's the authentic, the natural way to speak. Not the classroom dialogues that are full of precise and fully articulated speech. When we're outside the classroom, we focus on the main beats. Other words, they're not very important. They get minimized, they get reduced, saves energy. So we don't say each word separately like an individual sound. They all blend together to keep a continuous flow, like a stream of sound. That's natural, that's authentic, that's real English native speech. So there are two phenomena that makes native speech difficult for learners to understand. These are elision and connection. Elision is where sounds are dropped or reduced. For example, interesting becomes interesting. Good old man becomes good old man. I'm going to go becomes I'm going to go. Elision and reduction, it helps us to fit all those structure words in between the content words too, and it gives extra emphasis to your key points. So like the dogs are going to be chasing the cats. We use reduction to fit all those words in between the main beats. Now connection, that refers to how one word flows into the next one as a continuous stream. For example, not at all becomes not at all. She's an astronaut becomes she's an astronaut. Imagine that you didn't know what astronaut means. You might ask me, what does nastronaut mean? So you can see how that actually happened to me. A student asked me, what does nastronaut mean? So you can see how like connection can cause difficulties in comprehension. So this brings us to the question, is this good English? Reduced speech, coulda, woulda, shoulda. A lot of learners believe that speaking good English means pronouncing every sound clearly, as in very formal practice. Some even think that using reduced and connected speech is a sign of substandard or low-class English. Are they right? Well, most linguists, and myself included, don't think so. There's nothing lazy about using the reduced forms and the connected speech. Connected speech and reduced forms are present at all levels of speech. including even the most formal. In these cases, we use the reductions and the connection to maximize the impact of our content words. So if you do have these reduced forms and connected speech in all native communication, then we really should be learning them. So I think all students should be learning not only just to listen to these, but also speak them. So let's look at some different kinds of connection. The first is vowel to vowel. So when you connect E as in B, I as in guy, or A as in may to another vowel sound, you use the glide sound Y. She's easy on the eyes. I often pay our bills online. I often, right? You hear the intruding Y. When can you pay us back? When you're connecting oo as in shoe, o as in show, or ow as in loud to another vowel, use the w sound. I'd like a new one. Don't show up late. How are you? Now, you might notice in these examples, all the words already have W's and Y's. That really isn't important. The important thing is the sound, so the vowel sound. So if we had oo as in shoe, followed by a vowel, o in on, we would say shoe on, put the shoe on the table. All right, so we also have a consonant to consonant linking connection. So did you pass science? They share the S. Pass science, take care. We don't say take care. Take care. We only pronounce the consonant sound once as the ending of the first word and the beginning of the second word. This model is our top performer. Okay, yeah, we also have these, when you have different consonants, sometimes speakers of like Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, Italian, they like to add a shadow vowel in between consonants, the ending consonant of a word and the beginning consonant of another word. So they might say, instead of let's go, they might say let's-a go. Instead of made up my mind, they might say I've a made up of my mind. So be careful not to add the shadow vowel. I've made up my mind. I've been meaning to tell you. You've got it made. Then we have the consonant to vowel link. Now this is the most important. So when you have a word that ends with a consonant and the next word starts with a vowel, you push off the ending consonant of the first word into the vowel of the second word. So like in the song Jessie J, I got all I need when I got you and I. You and I. Sounds like die. I actually had a student write die on a worksheet we were doing for that song. It was fill in the blank, you and I, you and die. So let's listen to some of these. Take another look. They've got an edge over us. They've got an edge on us. Get a leg up on the competition. He's been making eyes at her all evening. What a sellout. Push off the consonant into the vowel of the next word. Okay, we did all the connection. Now let's look at elision or reduction. First aspect of elision is the disappearing syllable. Listen to these words. Look how they're spelled. How many syllables would you expect these words to contain if they were pronounced exactly how they're spelled? The first one, you might expect 4, right? Interesting. Well, actually it's pronounced with 3 syllables. Interesting. Vegetable, you might expect 4, but it's actually pronounced just 3. Vegetable, okay? And now, do you have to drop the syllable, is the question. Well, no, you don't, except for vegetable, business, Wednesday, and evening. Vegetable, business, Wednesday, and evening would sound weird if you said vegetable, business, Wednesday, evening. Vegetable, business, Wednesday, evening, you must drop the syllable. Now, here's a funny story about a disappearing syllable. So there was a 4-year-old boy, and he had learned the word battle droids from watching Star Wars. And in the movie, they're also saying the word asteroids, but they pronounce it asteroids. And it sounded to him like asteroids. So he thought that was another kind of robot. He didn't know what ass was, obviously. And one day his dad walked in on him and found him playing an imaginary game of the battle droids versus the asteroids. The next kind of elision is reduced speech. This is the gonna, wanna, coulda words that make speaking more efficient, but they might make us more difficult to understand. Let's go over this dialogue and you can get an idea how reduction works in English. When are you going to Beijing? I'm gonna go on Sunday. Boy, I wish I were getting out of here for a while. You got your plane ticket? No, I've got to get it tomorrow. What do you have to do in Beijing? I've got to give him some lectures, but I also want to do some sightseeing. Where do you go? Well, I want to get out of Beijing and see the Great Wall. Okay, have a good time. Okay, goodbye. So, we've reached the end of today's presentation, and you got a ton of information, but how can you practice it? Of course, the best way would be to work with me or another experienced coach, but there are a few things you can do on your own. Poetry and song are some of the most highly regarded tools that I use with my students. They're also a lot of fun. So you can find poetry readings on YouTube and look up some quotes. Another thing you could do is like look up quotes from your favorite actor. Type in Tony Stark quotes, and then listen to that actor speaking, record yourself speaking the same sentences, and compare them. It's always nice to start the day off with a nice song or a poem reading on YouTube, so you should try it out. Really helps with your rhythm and your intonation. Another activity that I often do is dictation. This helps with that reduced speech, like, when are you going to Beijing? So I'll say a sentence like, if someone had told me it was his birthday, I would have gotten him a bottle of wine. And then my students count the words. If someone had told me it was his birthday, I would have gotten him a bottle of wine. Wow, 18 words. So you could try listening to your favorite actor's quotes and count how many words there are in the sentences. You might even want to try to write them down. You'll really be surprised how common reduced speech, connection, and elision really is. So if you'd like a copy of the slides that we used in today's webinar, I'll try to make those available for you. And if you want more information on how to join my next pronunciation mini course, just get in touch and we'll try to get you signed up. All right. Thanks.